What's going on? Ryan here, PACE TRIATHLON.com, and we're going to do some quick tips on dissecting the pedal stroke. So you can see this diagram here that I've got all my tips. Um, Everybody's kind of curious, there is a better way to do your pedal stroke, and most of where I'm going to come from is using clipless pedals, where you actually attach the pedals to give you the most optimal power as possible. So we're just going to kind of run through some high-level tips on here to kind of help you out and give you maybe a basic understanding of the pedal stroke and where to best put your energy. So the first point is direct the motion of your foot with intention. So don't just kind of spin your feet and don't really think about it. You need to think about it, especially if you're working out indoors. Think about what you're doing with your foot and where it at and what the position is. You want to connect the brain with the muscles and what you're doing. Number two, efficient pedal stroke has an oval shape motion. So it's not exactly a full just circle. So if you're thinking about it with your foot, your whole foot, you're doing kind of an oval situation. Not a true oval, but the efficiency curve is more of an oval shape if you think about it like that. So I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but stay with me. So number three, goal is develop a smooth 360-degree stroke. So you don't want to just mash it down the front and then just worry about it when it comes back over. It is a full 360 degrees of what you're doing with your foot as you're going through the pedal stroke. So again, when you're being intentional about the motion of your foot, it affects the whole pedal stroke. Number four, backstroke, upstroke, and overstroke are considered transitional phases. So if you look at the diagram here, you got your backstroke, your upstroke, and your overstroke. It's transitional phases because you're not putting as much power. Your muscles are not most optimal position for power, either pushing or pulling. So keep that in mind. 180 to 360 degree range, toe generally points more downward. So when you come to the bottom of the stroke and you're pulling up, your toe's a little bit more down. You're pulling up with your heel as you're doing the stroke. Downstroke begins as foot plus pedal move from 0 to 180 degrees. So when you're at the top, 0, and you're moving down to 180 degrees, that's the downstroke phase. So I like to put that in there so you kind of know what the downstroke phase is. Backstroke is the sector immediately following the downstroke. So down, backstroke. So when people are using these terms, it's good to kind of know what they're talking about and what phase of the pedal stroke you're talking about. Upstroke phase, emphasis on pulling upward from 270 to 360 degrees. So notice in the little green here, this is the upstroke phase, and that's where you want to put a little bit more power because, like I said, that engages the hamstrings a little bit more, the glute. You can pull a little bit more than other parts of that phase in the pedal stroke. So again, being intentional about what you're doing with your foot and your body as you're doing through the pedal stroke. Upstroke phase, we did talk about that. Overstroke precedes downstroke by pressing forward over the top. So once you get to that top, you're starting to push over and you're pushing down with the pedal. Again, your legs are not in the most optimal position to put the most power down, so you're not going to be putting the most power at that point in the pedal stroke. Force should not be the same amount throughout the whole cycle. As again, when you've got the most optimal position for your muscles, you're either pushing or you're contracting and pulling. When you're at the top, when you're at the bottom, your muscles are either fully contracted because you're pulled up with your leg, or you're all the way down at the bottom and you just lose that ability to really apply force to the pedal stroke. So you're not trying to mash it through your whole 360 degrees, but you're also not mashing it part of it and then just pulling it up later. So I know it's a little bit of a stretch, and if you haven't really thought about it that much, it could be a lot all at once here. Force, we already hit the force, number 11. Body better applying for extending the knee. So when you're extending the knee and you're pushing down the pedal, that's when you've got the most force. I think that's kind of, when people think about it, it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense kind of situation. So when you're pushing, you're thinking about doing squats or anything like that. When you're extending your leg, that is when you got the most power to put on those pedals. The other keys that help with the pedal stroke is a good bike fit. If you don't have a good bike fit, your pedal stroke phase won't really matter because you won't be able to apply the forces in the right positions because you're not able to either elongate all the way or you're too far up and you're too compacted in your position and you can't extend all the way and get that full power. So you're just kind of missing on that little bottom part that you can push a little bit extra, get a little bit of power out of. Over 56, 112 miles, it kind of makes a difference. So make sure that you got a good bike fit. Having a strong core helps as well because you're using your hip flexors, you're using your core to position your body, and it all goes through the core. So make sure that you have a good core. If you're wondering how can I improve my pedal stroke, it's like, well, fit and then core. It's not really quote pedal stroke, but it has a good impact on the pedal stroke. And as well, I like to say drill exercises are important. So that will help with all these points of knowing your phases and everything, especially one-legged pedal strokes. If you got an indoor trainer or even a spin bike or something like that, when you're just pedaling with one leg at a time, it really drives home because the other leg cannot push when the other one's pulling. So you've got to think about that whole pedal stroke. So I like to put that in there for athletes, is go through and do one-legged drills to really think about where they're applying force, when they're pulling, when they're pushing, and really where they can't do anything about it. And they just kind of have to get through that pedal stroke phase and how to keep that momentum going and how to position their foot over time. So I know we went through this pretty quick, but again, if you got any comments or anything like that, put it in the comments. If you got any questions, put them in the comments as well. If you're seeing this on Facebook, give it a like. If you see it on YouTube, give it a like, give me a subscribe so you can see future videos and tips. Again, like I said, we ran through this pretty quick, but I don't want to bore you too much by doing an hour-long video on pedal stroke because you can dive into so many rabbit holes with this. So make sure you kind of have the tips down. And like I said, if you got any questions, put them in the comments so I can help you out if you need any help. If you come up with something else that I didn't maybe put in the video here or the tips you think is important, I'm open to suggestions. So with that, happy training out there, and we'll see you out on race day.